Speaking with the topical Bob Holt from the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, sports writer extraordinaire, who was on the media Zoom with Dave Van Horn, and I don't know if anybody else was on that Zoom along with Dave, Bob, so let me ask you that first question. Were any players there with him, or is it just the Arkansas head baseball coach? I actually don't hear Bob.
We didn't have him turned on there. You got to push the red button, so that hadn't been activated yet. Now, Bob, you're on the air.
Now you're on with us, Bob. Okay. Hello, Bob.
Yeah, no, we just talked to Dave, but Dave's always good.
He is always good. That's right. So I know the first question is always the starting rotation, and they're keeping it a TBA for Game 3, but he's added another pitcher to the possibilities for Game 3 with Jaxon Wiggins. Did Dave elaborate on that decision at all during the Zoom?
Well, he got asked, I guess, how concerned he was, that a guy who hadn't, started all year would be starting an SEC game late in the year. And Dave said, yeah, and on top of that, he's a freshman. But he said, you just got, he didn't say it's going to be Wiggins, but if it is him, they basically got to, put him out there and see what he can do. And they're not expecting necessarily to throw 5 or 6 innings. They'd probably mix some other guys in there. But he's obviously got a lot of upside. And he's got a live arm. And but that's been Lockhart should have been the guy there, most of the season, but he struggled of late. So maybe they just want to, give Wiggins a chance here. He has, obviously, he's a freshman, but he's been with the team all year, so I hope he's gotten some experience and some maturity. So, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Have to wait and see if it turns out to be another doubleheader too.
Right. Yeah, that's the other thing too. I'm sure he's not interested necessarily in talking about that yet, but it probably is a possibility that could be happening on Saturday. Did anybody bring up Kevin Kopps, with the National Pitcher of the Month award for the National College Baseball Writers Association? The reason I ask is because we're all running out of superlatives for Kopps, and I think Dave even says it now. Most of the Zooms post game after Kevin is pitching, he says, I don't really know what else I can add to what I've been saying about him all year long. So, was he asked about Kopps and this award and how he's pitched recently?
No, I guess somebody should have thought to ask that. But I didn't think to ask it. Nobody else asked it. That would have been a good thing to ask. I guess we're all just kind of getting spoiled or so used to Kopps, going out there and just dominating. I know after the game the other day, or after the most recent doubleheader, or maybe it was after Friday. Anyway, sometime last weekend, Dave got asked about Kopps early in the Zoom. I think I asked him something else, and he said, well, he kind of ran out of things to say. But then he went ahead and said some good stuff, because Dave always says good stuff. But no, we didn't ask about him, but certainly hadn't a shot. I honestly didn't know there was a Pitcher of the Month award, but if anybody deserves it, I'd say it's Kopps. He's leading the nation, I guess, in the ERA now for guys that have pitched enough innings. Or maybe somebody's thrown 5 innings or something has a better ERA. But to me, what's really impressive about him, and I'm not comparing him to Goose Gossage or Bruce Sutter necessarily, Hall of Fame relievers, but he's a guy that doesn't go out there and get 3 outs or 4 outs. He'll go out there and get 9 outs or more, and so he's kind of harkens back to those 1970s and 80s guys who will go out there and pitch multiple innings.
Well, and coming into this last 3 weeks, it's really nuts because you get this 6-team race essentially for the SEC overall championship, and it's down to 3 teams in the West. Arkansas 15-6, but they do probably have the toughest schedule remaining of any of those teams that are in contention for the overall championship. And here we are. We've been riding this wave of 11 straight winning weekends, and there still is the possibility. I'm not saying this is going to happen because I don't think they're going to collapse or anything like that. But if you lose 2 of the next 3 series, you still could be looking at playing in that first round of the SEC tournament, that single elimination round. I don't think anything changes from Arkansas hosting right now, but we're still, they're 15-6. You lead the SEC overall. If things don't go well these last 3 weeks, you may end up playing in that single elimination, which is kind of nuts to think about here.
Yeah, it just speaks to the strength and balance of the SEC pretty much top to bottom. And Georgia, they've been ranked, but they fell out of the rankings after losing 2 or 3 to Auburn last weekend. But Georgia won a series at Vanderbilt, not just over Vanderbilt. They won a series at Vanderbilt. Took 2 out of 3. They took 2 out of 3 at Missouri. So they've been a pretty good road team. And also, as far as Kops goes, we didn't ask him about the National Pitcher of the Month award, but Dave got asked about, Kops obviously being an older guy and kind of his draft chances, and Dave said they're definitely, been getting calls from teams, and what he tells them is, hey, come out here and watch him pitch, make your own decisions. But that was something about Kops I forgot to mention.
Bob Holt joining us here on Halftime. Bob, let's transition over to men's basketball. A lot of news that's been coming out this week with the different coaching changes and the players leaving the program. We'll start with the coaches here, with David Patrick heading down to Oklahoma, taking the same position under Porter Moser in the new Oklahoma coaching staff. There's a lot of different ways that you could take this news, whether it be good that you've got coaches that other programs are wanting, or bad that not a lot of coaches are sticking around with Musselman. In your opinion, how are you taking this news with now David Patrick, the next coach, leaving the Razorbacks?
Well, I got to say it surprised me, because I think him and Eric were pretty close, and I think he had a good deal here, and Arkansas is coming off a great year, and looks like they're going to have another great year. But I didn't realize that David and Porter Moser have been really good friends for a long time, and I guess I talked to Dave yesterday. He said he and Porter had talked, a lot about coaching together. If and when Porter got a big job, and not that Loyola Chicago's. I mean, he went to a Final Four there, but obviously that they don't have the financial resources of a school like Oklahoma does, or Arkansas for that matter. So yeah, some people might look and say, I know there's probably a narrative out there that while these coaches are leaving, Eric must be hard to work for, tough to work for. I asked David that directly, and he said he wasn't too tough for me. And I do think it's there's not everybody can work for Eric Musselman, but you look at these guys. Corey Williams got quite a nice bump in salary to Texas Tech. He had some ties there with Sean Sutton. Chris Crutchfield deal is kind of weird, going to a small D2 school, but he did get to coach his sons when he's at Oregon, another Power 5. But what I would say is, look at Eric Musselman. I don't care who his assistants are. I'm not sure who his assistants are, but it doesn't matter who his assistants have been. He's won.
Mm-hmm.
He went to Nevada when they were struggling and turned them around very quickly. Arkansas, you have to say, obviously had some good years under Mike Anderson, but overall it's kind of been, not up to snuff. And he had a big year here very quickly. So no matter who his assistants are, he's been winning. So that's the common denominator. And just being on the Zoom yesterday with the new assistant, Gus Argent, I'm saying that right. He was an impressive guy to listen to. He's a guy who worked for Eric before and wanted to come here and work for him again. So that's a good sign. And I would think they'll hire another good assistant to fill David's spot, because they've got some pretty good money to offer, and the program's on the rise.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they named or who they named to be the next associate head coach. But as far as with Gus Argenal, new assistant coach, I mean, Bob, he has an impressive resume, and I think what's key here for kind of this narrative that coaches aren't sticking around with Musselman, Coach Archel's been with Musselman before and is doing it again. I think that'll prove to be beneficial, because I think both of these guys know how to work cohesively together. And like you said, anywhere Musselman's been, he's won, and with Argenal, it's the same way. So I think this is a good match for an assistant coach with Coach Musselman with Gus Argenal.
Yeah, like Gus was saying yesterday, I guess I can call him by first name. He's a very, very pleasant guy to talk to, by the way. He's a guy who can step in, and he knows exactly what Eric wants. He knows how Eric wants practices run. He knows how he wants practice drills run. Knows how he wants film to be watched. How you break down players they're recruiting, all that stuff. So he's coming, and plus, while there has been turnover among the assistant coaches, the other guys on Eric's staff, I guess we could call the support staff, Anthony Ruda and Patrick Ackerman, and of course, Michael Musselman, Eric's son, and Hayes Myers. Riley Hall was here, but a lot of the staff have been with Eric from Nevada to here, and then obviously those are guys that Gus worked with too. So there's been some changeover, but there's also been some continuity.
And one last thing before we throw it over the field, and from a player's perspective, you had a couple guys one enter the transfer portal, and one more open up his recruitment, and a Cole Malwin and Baby Eola entering the transfer portal. So now, Bob, you got three open scholarship spots on this team. And on first glance, you're like, yeah, well, let's go fill these 3 roster spots. But I don't know if there's any necessarily right players out there. I mean, I'm sure Coach Musselman can find some guys. But, Bob, when you look at how the roster's laid out right now, with these 10 guys that are in this roster right now, all 10 of them theoretically will probably get some playing time, or this is the 10 that you'll roll with for the rest of the year. So what do you think Coach Musselman will do with these 3 open scholarship spots?
Well, I think they're still looking for guys in the portal. I mean, at this point, it'd be probably unlikely you could get an impact freshman or JUCO player, this late in the spring. So yeah, but there's a bunch of guys still in that portal. It's like they're going in every day. So I think they're still working that because you got 3 roster spots. You want to have good competition in practice. You want to have quality practice. You need to have depth in case you have some injuries or other things, unexpectedly happen. And I think they're still recruiting. Gus was basically because right now he's down assistant coach, and I was asking Gus about, I'm sure he was hitting the ground running recruiting wise, and he said, "Oh yeah," he said his wife was here with them, I guess over the weekend, but then she's back in California. They have 2 sons still in school there, and Gus said he had texted his wife. And of course, there's a time change there, but she asked, "Why'd you text so late?" And he was like, "We've been working, recruiting." So. Yeah, I'm sure they're going to add some more guys. They're not going to let those 3 scholarships, just go unfilled. I don't believe.
Bob, I'll let you go with that. I agree with you. There's no way you let that go unfilled. Otherwise, I'm putting in for the money myself. Appreciate your time. Have a great weekend.
Okay, you guys take care.
Guys, it's Bob Holt from the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, joining us every Thursday, usually 11:30, but not when there's a Dave Van Horn Zoom press conference. Brought to you by our friends at Pradco Outdoor Fishing, bringing you the Yumdinger. This is what you need to catch the largemouth bass that have spawned all over Arkansas and Oklahoma. The Yumdinger is made in Fort Smith by Pradco Outdoor Fishing by the truckloads in 3, 4, 5, and 6-inch sizes. You'll find them in tackle boxes of bass anglers all over the United States and the world. That's the Yumdinger, available at Walmart, Bass Pro Shops, Academy, LureNet.com, and tackle stores all over the place.
Let's go, Manny.
Dinger.
Oh, nice. That was beautiful.
Halftime homework to wrap it up after this.